themes today. I liked that one of the most powerful scenes in the movie, in my opinion, and one of the most perverted, was also very interesting. It's about how this very disgusting character that was an exhibitionist with women that he perceived as weak, and how he is scared away by a seemingly weak and delicate woman. That was a very interesting scene. They also mock the trials, and something interesting is the relationship between criminals and journalists. It was interesting, but I hated the animal cruelty. I thought it was unnecessary. I think it was just for shock value, and yeah, John Waters, the filmmaker, at the end of the film tries to justify it as saying that, almost the same thing is done to chickens in factory farming, and that they ate the chicken at the end of the film. I don't know. I thought it was unnecessary, but I did think this movie was funny and hilarious and incredibly disgusting, especially the last scene. If you are very sensitive to disgusting scenes and controversial topics, they also talk about cannibalism, which is very disturbing, but I don't think it's a bad movie, and I like the social criticism. But if you are sensitive to disgusting things and controversial topics, then avoid this movie. Maybe it isn't for you. But anyway, moving on. The next film is called Bicycle Thieves. It is a classic. I think it's a movie by Vittorio De Sica. I really wanted to like this movie, but I wasn't too impressed. I did like the criticism. I liked the last scene where, this guy, because he is influential, he gets helped by the whole town. But when this guy that was, he didn't have much money, when they stole the bicycle, nobody helped him. He went to the police, and they didn't even care. So I like that. It reminded me of a lot of real life situations. Something that happened in my hometown when a young man was murdered in a disco. But 6 days passed by and the police didn't do a lot, and the family had to engage in a series of protests. So the police would do something and investigate, and after 3 years or 2, they were able to get this person who did it. But then I remember some weeks ago, someone was killed in a car wash, and I remember the army came to see about what happened. There was a bunch of policemen. They closed the roads. I guess life is unfair, and I hope they did charismatic. He was so, I don't know, I just hated the main character, so you don't really care for anything that happens to him, unfortunately, but it is interesting, and some of the scenes were a little bit melodramatic and, I don't know, uninteresting, but I didn't completely dislike it. So let's move on. The next movie is The Gospel According to St. Matthew, directed by Pier Paolo Pasolini in 1964. This was dreadful. Sorry, I just don't get why it is hailed as a great film and why it has such great reviews. I think technically the movie was poorly made. I mean, you can see the camera moving at times and somebody hitting the camera by accident, and you know, I don't know, and just the dialogue is basically the scripture, and you know, this guy who plays Jesus Christ, I think he was just unbearable. I don't know, maybe that's why they banned it. My mother told me that when it came out in Argentina that they banned this movie. I don't know why, maybe because the character was, I mean, Jesus was portrayed as someone insufferable, and just mad, and I don't know, it just, if you want to sleep, this is a great movie for sleeping. But I thought it was dreadful. Just dreadful. Maybe some of the scripture is interesting, but they make it so, I don't know, so boring. And the effects, I mean, I understand it's 1964, but the special effects were laughable. And I don't know, they could have done something a little bit more interesting, or I don't know. I don't know, I didn't like it. I didn't see anything interesting about this film, and I just didn't like it. I'm sorry. I know it gets a lot of good reviews, and that's why I bought it, because I thought it was going to be interesting, but I did not like it. I did not care for this movie. I'm sorry. Moving on. The next movie that I watched was Eraserhead by David Lynch. I thought this movie was very funny, and I think it influenced a lot of other movies that came after this one. I think this was from the 70s. I think it's a great film. It's very funny, but at the same time I found it a little bit boring. So it's the story of this guy that discovers his partner is pregnant, and his adventures with taking care of the baby. It's interesting, but I don't know, it just, I wish I had liked it a lot more, but I watched it again and it grew into me. But it is funny. I just wish I had liked it a lot more. Many people say this movie is their favorite. I guess it's because it's funny and strange, but it was okay. Another movie I watched was The Naked Kiss by Samuel Fuller. This movie is always recommended still don't know why this woman sold champagne. I didn't get the champagne part, but she didn't really sell champagne. She was a prostitute, but then she wasn't. And I think there's a little bit of prudery in the movie, and there's an interesting plot twist. Unfortunately, it talks about a situation that is still very prevalent today, unfortunately, but I would say it's interesting, and the main actress is a wonderful, not only is she a wonderful actress, but a wonderful singer, and it is interesting. I guess it's the product of its time. I don't know. It's okay. The next movie, Chloe in the Afternoon by Eric Romer. I did not like this movie. I don't think it's very realistic, and I didn't like how the main character kept lying to himself. I mean, I guess when we want to believe in a fantasy, or when we want to justify our behavior, our bad behavior, it's easy for us to lie to ourselves and to justify certain things, so we don't feel bad about them. But this guy seemed so self-righteous, and I don't know. And also he wasn't charismatic at all, or good looking. It's hard to believe that. It's hard to believe that he was in the situations that he got into in the movie. But I did like how this movie explores loneliness, and how fantasies come with too much loneliness. That was interesting. I like the themes of manipulation and some common tactics of manipulation. That was interesting, but I don't know. I guess the characters are complex, and I understand that, but I think that at the end of the day, we all want to be loved, and that's about it, you know? It doesn't have to be so complicated. I don't know. I think both characters were very unlikable. I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting movie, I guess, to analyze psychologically, but it does become a little bit boring, and I don't know, unrealistic, and you just get tired of, certain situations, and I guess the ending was okay, but I don't know. I didn't like it, but I respect people that do, there's something beautiful. So, to me, I don't know, it's a I mean, I guess I'm accustomed to that because a lot of movies show that contrast, and you get accustomed to that. I think there's nothing beautiful or uplifting about a war. And, there's just dreadful things and human misery, but I was expecting a contrast. If you have a horrible concept doesn't cross boundaries like Pink Flamingos does. So yeah, I did not like this movie. I'm sorry if you did like it. It was tiring to watch. But anyway, let's move on. And last but not least, I watched The Aviator's Wife, also by Eric Romer. It's the second Eric Romer film I watched. I like this movie. It's interesting. It talks about how differently you are treated when you're not attractive. So this young man had a girlfriend, and this girlfriend cheated on him with a much more attractive man. And, you know, the girlfriend treated him horribly, just horribly. But, you know, she was very kind to the more attractive guy, and yeah, just, it's something that a lot of people take for granted, that a lot of people overlook. It's the elephant in the room. I think many people say that attractiveness isn't that important, but it is. Unfortunately, if you're not good looking, you know, people won't be as nice. And a lot of people will say that's not the case, but I have seen it. Yeah, and I think it applies to women as well. You know, men can be horrible to women that they find unattractive, but they can treat attractive women very kindly. It's interesting. I like that this film explores that. I just hated this young man's girlfriend. I thought she was horrible. And I thought it was a little bit frivolous. And this character, you know, this girl that approaches him, I don't know if that would happen in real life. You usually approach someone that you're attracted to, and sometimes you're too shy for fear of rejection, but it's interesting. I liked it, but I thought it was a little bit frivolous at times, but it was very interesting. I liked it. But anyway. That is it. I hope this video relaxed you and that this whisper ramble was relaxing enough to make you sleep.